Do you ever feel that sometimes you are not who you are? You are expected by your own thoughts to be more and more successful? For this, you feel discouraged and bad for yourself? However, you cannot console this problem with anybody since they perceive you for someone that isn't you. The majority of people are trapped in this feeling, while only a very few are able to escape from it and feel the sense of peacefulness. Nikon Gormley is among one of the people who were free from this trap. He changed his mindset once, and he felt a sense of peacefulness, released from the mentioned feeling. He knows how good it feels when you can escape from this trap of mindset. Hence, he coaches people from all around the world so that they also can escape from this trap of mindset. Not only does he become successful in managing his own expectations and feelings and coaching other people to do so, but he was also a professional in Korean martial art, Taekwondo. He achieved a bronze medal in the Thailand Taekwondo Olympics. For this, he opened his own Taekwondo Academy business with more than 6 branches around Thailand to teach others the skills of this martial art.
First of all, nice to see you here and thank you for coming to this interview session with me. First of all, could you briefly introduce yourself and what you're doing right now?
Sure. So thank you for having me, Sprite. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast. And I love that we get to do things like this in this day and age. So you asked me to introduce myself. So my name is Nikon Gormley. I'm a transformative coach. I'm a Taekwondo instructor. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a founder. And I think there are a lot of different hats, right? So I think I want to share with you what I do as a transformative coach. So for me, being a transformative coach, to me that work is largely about helping people reconnect to who they really are, beyond their doubts and their fears and their worries, to help people spend more time being at their best. Because I really believe that when people spend more time being at their best, their worlds expand. Their worlds expand with more possibility. They get to do more cool things. They get to create more cool things. And what I mean about spending more time being at their best is they spend less time in states of worry, fear, doubt. Like less holds them back. And I fear that when people get free of those things that hold them back, they just get to be more impactful creators in the world. And in doing that professionally for the past 5 to 6 years, I've had the opportunity to work with Olympians, world champions, really successful business owners, successful founders, really from people all around the world. I've helped them do lots of cool things, and it's been so much fun to do this. And I've also really enjoyed connecting with mentors and teachers from around the world too, who have been a really big part of this journey.
Yeah. I think you did mention about trying to help people connect to themselves. Yeah. Can you explain a little bit more about what do you mean by the term themselves?
Sure. So what I mean by that is I think if we think of a car, when you learn how to drive a car, you get a driver's license, right? And when you get a driver's license, you go through this process of learning how to drive. And the more you understand how your vehicle works or how your car works, the better you're able to drive, or at least you understand how the engine works so you can fix it if something goes wrong. So you're more capable of using that vehicle, right? So same goes with being a human being. I feel that people aren't really given a good understanding of how their minds work. For example, most people spend their lives from the outside in, meaning if something happens on the outside, they will react to it. Whatever is happening in the environment, they will react to the environment. If something good is happening, they might feel happy or grateful. If something bad happening, they will react negatively. So to me, connecting to who you really are is about connecting to the energy of what you're made from, meaning beyond your psychology, beyond from your circumstances and your environment, because that's the energy where there's so much power and creativity and flexibility and possibility. And so if you learn how to operate from that space, you're less busy trying to manage your circumstance or your environment, and you're just more present to the moment. And when you're more present to the moment, so much more power becomes available to you, and you get to do incredible things. I can think of a story of a client I worked with recently who was a very gifted financial analyst and investor. And he was really held back by his doubts and his fears. And he was really spent a lot of time worried about the state of the world. So he spent a lot of time trying to control his circumstance in his world. And eventually he got burnt out by trying to fix everything. And he moved to Thailand. And he met me, and we spent time together. We would go for walks and get a milkshake. And I would just ask him things like, what are you doing to keep yourself from moving forward? And I was really trying to connect him to who he really is beyond his thinking. And he saw something in that. He connected to something within himself that allowed him to move forward day by day by day. And when he got free, he used his ability to create tremendous success in his business and his life. And he became very successful financially, and he used that money to help fund scholarships in Southeast Asia. So that's an example of what comes from connecting to who you really are. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So, do you think your true essence can change over time?
When you said that, what comes to mind is, in this type of conversation, we're looking for what's true and what doesn't change. For example, gravity doesn't change on Earth. Like if you drop a pen, it's always going to fall, right? But if it doesn't fall, that would be a very interesting conversation, right? So to me, who you really, really are doesn't seem to change. That energy that you come from is pure. Your true essence doesn't have a personality. It doesn't have opinions. It's just pure energy. But when our personal psychology gets involved, then we have personality, we have beliefs, we have desires, we have preferences. And that's the beauty of connecting to your true essence. Because it's so pure, it's creative, you can come from that place and create anything you want in the world. You can be anything you want that your heart desires, because you're creating from that pure essence. And so I think to your question, what changes over time is your perspective of the world.
Okay.
But the energy behind that doesn't change.
So when did you realize that this is a problem that need to be fixed? Like many people struggle connecting with themselves.
I think it started with myself. I remember because I was a professional Taekwondo athlete for 20 years. Yeah. And I noticed in the beginning when I was still not so good at Taekwondo, and I thought the problem was I wasn't confident, because everybody told me I have to be more confident. And I spent so much time trying to work on myself to become more confident, because I thought if I could just be more confident, I would win more. And then I tried so many ways of visualizing and mindset shifts and tools and techniques and NLP and all this stuff. And nothing really lasted. Like it would work for a little bit, but it wouldn't really last. And finally one day I just gave up, and I was like, you know what? I'm tired of trying to be more confident. I'm just gonna go enjoy the game and really focus on the game of Taekwondo. And it turns out that was the thing that helped me get much, much better. And I realized, oh wait, maybe nothing's wrong with me. I was just looking in the wrong direction. Like I wish somebody would have told me this earlier, that if I could just relax into myself, relax into my true essence, everything I was already looking for was already there. I just had to learn how to come more from that place. And then I started learning about the true principles of mind, consciousness, and thought. And I met teachers like Michael Neal, Steph Sibihowski, Dr. George Pransky. And I started reading books like Inside Revolution. I started understanding more about how the mind works, how the mind really works. And I realized that, gosh, we are all so afraid of our experience. We're so afraid of not knowing. We're so afraid of losing. We're so afraid of not achieving. That if we only really knew how beautifully we were made, you wouldn't be so afraid, and there would be less. And when we're not coming from fear, we're just better humans, and we're better neighbors, we're better friends.
So why did you turn yourself into like coaching people?
I think it was one of those things where I never really planned to, and I never really wanted to, but it's just something that kind of just happened overnight. Like I just loved helping people, and people would always come to me to ask for advice or for me to help them. And then one day, I learned that what I was doing was actually a profession. It was called a coach. I was like, oh, okay, I can do this for a living. Like, this is pretty cool. You know, I like doing this anyways. And I started to take it more. I started to give it more attention, more time and attention, really develop my skills and really learn about business. Now I could turn this into my own profession. Because this is something I really want to do for the rest of my life. It's something that feels so easy and effortless to me. Like it doesn't feel hard to me. It looks really simple to me. And everything else just never really worked out, or like it just didn't work out for me, but this thing did, so, and I wanted to do it. And the more I do it, the more I learn, the more I want to learn, and the more I want to do it.
Talking about goals, what are your goals in your like childhood?
As a child?
Yep, as a child, what are your goals?
I think as a child, I just wanted to, I think, so when you say child, how old are we talking?
Like teenagers?
Okay, a teenager is very different than a child. So is it a teenager or a child?
Let's say teenagers.
I think as a teenager, I just wanted to be an Olympic gold medalist or an Olympian in Taekwondo. That's all I wanted to do ever.
Are you still playing Taekwondo right now?
No, I retired professionally because I aged out of it. Because at some point your body can't compete at that level anymore. But now I'm a Taekwondo teacher, and I own a franchise of Taekwondo schools. And the franchise, we have about 8 to 10 schools around Thailand.
So is this Taekwondo business your first step in like business industry?
What do you mean by that? Is it my first business?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think I've had a lot of businesses. Some of them I don't even remember. And most of them failed. The ones that are still going are the ones that are still successful. I think even, because like business is one of those things that I just always gravitated to. Like I always loved doing business and helping people solve problems and learning how to get paid for it. But now, like I did it in one of my video YouTubes. I talked about even the way business looks to me got more and more simple. And I still love learning about it. So it's probably not my first business and probably won't be my last.
So what do you think is the most important factor of fear and afraidness that stop people from moving forward?
I think the most important thing is to really understand what fear is made out of. Like, what do you think fear is made out of?
The unknown, like you can't predict the future, something like that.
I think that's what you're afraid of. But if I ask you, what is it made out of? Like you can tell me what a plant is made out of, right? It's made out of cells and chlorophyll, and you can tell me what a plant is made out of. Can you tell me what fear is made out of?
I think it was made by your own self, but what it made out of.
So hold that thought. If fear is made out of thought, then what's thought made out of?
Experience? Made from experience?
Can you have a thought about an experience you never had?
Yeah.
Alright, so it's not made out of experience. So what's the thought made out of in your mind? There's no right answer.
Yeah. I'm just trying to figure it.
What do you think it's made out of?
Imagination?
Okay. To me, thought is pure energy. It's pure creative energy, and you can use that to scare yourself. You can use that to be more confident or be happy. But if fear is really made out of thought, then it's not the thing that's scaring you, it's you scaring yourself with thought.
Oh.
But if you know that fear is really made out of thought, if you can really see that, then whatever you're afraid of doesn't look that scary anymore. I mean, I still get afraid, and I still get nervous and anxious, but I don't stay there for as long as I used to, because I know that I'm scaring myself with my own thought, thinking. I'm scaring myself with my own thinking. But I know the nature of thought is transient. It's not a solid thing like a tree or a rock. It moves, and I've learned that if I just settle, if I just sit long enough, the thought will change. They call it the constant variable, because it's constant, but it changes. Like, are there some things that you used to be afraid of that you're not afraid of anymore?
Yeah.
Like what?
Actually, when I was a child, I'm scared of darkness. Yeah. But right now, it's all gone.
Yeah. I have a cool joke about being afraid of the dark. We're not afraid of the dark. We're not being afraid of being alone in the dark. We're afraid of not being alone in the dark.
Yeah. That's a great one.
Right. But as an adult, as a young adult, you have a sense that whatever you're going to encounter in the dark, you can probably put up a good fight or handle it, right? So that's a good example of thought changing something you're afraid of.
Do you think that we can explore more possibilities by understanding our own thoughts and feelings?
Yeah. So there's a famous performance equation, and it's by a tennis coach, and I don't remember his name, and he said performance equals potential minus interference. And when you understand that equation, you see that the only thing you need to do to perform better is to reduce interference, because potential is infinite, right? And so what is interference? Interference often comes in the form of thinking, because we often get in our own ways, our own fears, doubts, worries, anxieties, overthinking. But if you learn to reduce those, you have much more space in your mind for your bandwidth, for your potential to expand. And so by really understanding, for example, when you really understand that darkness is really a lack of light, and that's all it is. Darkness is just darkness, but our own imagination makes it more scary. When you understand that you're really being afraid of your own thinking and your own imagination, your imagination starts to look less scary. It's like, you ever watch a really scary movie?
Yeah.
What's one scary movie?
Like The Conjuring or something?
The Conjuring, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen behind the scenes of hair and makeup for the nun or whatever? And you see them putting on the makeup and without the lighting, it's not that scary.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay, it's like someone in a costume, and there's no music and stuff. It's like that. When you really start to see the behind the scenes of how your mind works and thought, things look less scary to you. I mean, you still get scared, but your life is less impacted by it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What's something you're afraid of right now?
I'm still afraid of taking risk and failure.
Okay. Do you think you will still be afraid of those things in 5 to 10 years? As much as now? Like, do you think risk and failure will look the same to you in 5 and 10 years?
No. I think I'll be less afraid of it.
Why?
I think I'll face one, and I think I can manage about it, do something to
Right.
it.
So right now, and right now it doesn't look like you can manage those things, so they look scary to you.
Yeah.
Cool. And what you said is in 5 and 10 years, you feel you might be able to more manage those things so they look less scary. So, and if you knew that no matter what happened, you'll be able to handle it anyways, I bet it begins to look a little bit less scary, right? So the fear is changing just the way we're looking at it. And it's really helpful to know that we can do that. And it's not to say, oh, I have to make this not be, I have to make myself not be afraid of this. It's just to say, oh, I'm afraid. To me, knowing you're afraid is way more powerful than trying to overcome your fear. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Cool.
Yep. How about feelings? Do you think like by understanding ourselves we can control our feelings and mood?
I think trying to control your feelings and mood is just more work. I think it's easier to let your moods and feelings pass. It's like the way I described it to somebody. You ever go to the beach, right? You ever tried to stop a wave? How'd that work out? It didn't work out, right? I think moods and feelings are the same, but you can learn how to surf the waves, right? You can learn how to go with the flow of the waves, and more waves will come. To me, it's more important to not be afraid of the waves. You're not trying to control them or fix them, because then you can enjoy the waves. And I think being angry or upset or things like that are really natural emotions. They're really just telling you where your thinking is at, because we're living in the feeling of our thinking, not our circumstances. And so your emotions are really great guides to where your thinking is at. If you're angry and you're upset, there's something going up in your head that's not in a good place. That's what your emotions are trying to tell you about. If you keep going down this way, it's not going to be a nice place. So it's helpful to just relax and not relax, to kind of sit back and like kind of get your bearings, get settled first. But if you people who try and spend too much time to manage their feelings and emotions, they're missing out on what's going on in front of them.
Yeah.
They're missing the waves. Does that make sense to you?
I can see how. How will you categorize success? Is it, stress? Is it a feeling? Is it fear or something?
Stress?
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think stress is made out of?
I think it's again your own thought.
Okay. Do you think we're all stressed about the same things in the same way?
No.
So then stress becomes really personal. What's stressing you out might be a very easy day for me, and what's stressing me out might be an easy day for you. So if we know that stress is personal, we know that as real as it looks on the outside, we're making it up in our own heads. So we're reacting to it in a way that's causing us to have this emotion. And even though I get this, like I still get stressed about stuff and I still get worried about stuff. But it's just really, really helpful to know that it's coming from me and not from the outside, even though I think it's coming from the outside. Because then when I know it's coming from the inside, I can choose to pay attention to it or not. Because if I think it's coming from the outside, I'm going to try and fix or control or mitigate whatever I think is creating the stress. But if I know it's not really coming from, it's my own experience of it, my own thoughts, I can choose to not pay attention to it. Does that make sense? And so it's really taking time to really asking yourself the question, what is stress made out of to you? And you often find it's actually quite personal.
Yeah,
Was that helpful?
it is. So, coaching people is like one of your business you're running right now, right? How many business are you running right now? In the meantime,
4.
4. How, how do you manage your time?
Do one thing at a time. You do one thing at a time, and I think I just do one thing at a time. I don't really have a routine or a set schedule. I just do one thing at a time on my to-do list, and I trust that my intuition will tell me what needs to get done first or how to prioritize. And like, I know I need to sleep, and I'll sleep, and if I know I need to go to exercise, then I'll exercise. I learned to really, I think, listen to my body and my mind, or not my thinking, but my intuition about it.
When you first running business, do you find something that you're not expected it to be?
I think everything was not expected to be. Like, no matter how many business books you read, how many case studies, how prepared you think you are,
Yeah.
I think the nature of business is that unexpected things always happen. And that's how business teaches you how to be good at it. Because if business was predictable, we would all have businesses, successful businesses. And you can see that from even really successful businesses, they're not always successful. Can you think of one business that recently was thought to be really successful, but then their stock price just went like,
Yeah, I can.
Which one?
I think last year, cryptocurrencies went up.
So that's a currency, but can you think of a business?
Yeah. How about Bitcup?
Tell me more.
Yeah, I think two or three, last year, it was pretty hype about, people were pretty hype about it, but recently it just went down.
Because they lost the
The deal.
SCB bank deal?
Yeah.
Okay. So, as successful as they were, and as much money as they were making, I don't think they could have predicted what's happening or what's about to happen, right? So, even if at that level you can't predict, I think it's far more important to be really present to what's going on and be able to navigate those ups and downs. So to answer your question is, if you know that you don't need to be prepared for business, it's easier to let business teach you what it wants to teach you. So, and if you really love it, and if you're really committed to building strong businesses that last a very long time, and you can give yourself time to learn it, you'll probably be really good at it. But if you're trying to become really, really successful overnight by over-preparing, you're probably going to have a really hard time. Is that helpful? Are we on track?
Do you think every success have similarity?
Yes. I think if you look at the really core of it, I think it really comes down to time and attention. Maybe some luck, or a lot of luck. I don't think anybody's ever succeeded overnight, no matter what they tell you. Just time and attention and commitment and some luck. What's the luckiest you've ever been?
Well, I'm not sure about myself, but I think my brother was pretty lucky. Like one time when he was a child, I mean, he's sleeping on his bed like as usual, and then something flew over and covered all his face. Yeah, he nearly like died. I'm gonna say this, but at the meantime, my mom came in and then saw the situation and then fixed it. I think he was pretty lucky.
Okay. Cool. See, some things aren't up to us, because from what it sounds like, your brother couldn't help himself, right?
Yeah, like he was 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah. So I think, even like a situation like that, like sometimes it's not up to us. Most of the time it's not.
How important is luck in success, do you think? Like,
Oh, I think luck is. I think it's definitely. I don't know. I don't think about how important. I think it's very important. But I found that the more time and attention you spend in things, the more luck wants to get involved with whatever you're doing. Like what's one dream you have?
one of my dreams. I just want achieving something I really want.
Yeah.
And that's one of my dreams.
Like what? Like what do you want?
Having time and enough money to spend with my family. Yeah.
Okay.
That's one of my
So having time and money. So can you do that now? You can't. You don't have time for your family right now.
I have time.
Is it a yes or a no?
But I don't have like enough money to like, yeah.
How much money do you need? Do you need like $1 million?
Just up to like $1 million baht, I think.
Okay. Like what do you want to do with your family?
Just to take them to places they want, or like, yeah, just make them happy. Help them with their situation.
Okay, so have you asked them what makes them happy?
Actually, no.
Okay. So you've made up what you've made up that you think if you take them somewhere they'll be happy.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a good example of what we're talking about. Like if you followed that because you made up an idea, you're following an idea that you made up, that they'll be happy if I get enough money, if I take them somewhere. And so you're like, that's a good example of I'll be happy when, right? We have these agents, the deal brokers. But if you realize that, I think if you could just spend time with them now and they'll probably be happy with that, you'll probably achieve your dream tomorrow. Like you could take them to McDonald's or something, and I bet they would love that for ice cream. It'll only cost you 100 baht. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think can affect luck?
Time and attention.
Okay.
And sometimes it's nothing to do with you. Like it's your mother walking in to save your brother's life because she felt something.
Oh.
You know, sometimes it's nothing to do with you. But I found that in things like business and creating things, the more time and attention you put into things, the more lucky you seem to get. You meet the right people at the right time, at the right place. I think being very present can help increase your luck because you're very present to opportunities in front of you. But if you're too busy thinking about it, you're not going to notice things that are already showing up for you moment to moment.
Do you think one success can lead to another.
Ask me in a different way.
Okay. Do you think each successful business is related to each other, like a successful businesses from the same person?
So I think that if we define success as output,
Yeah.
as positive output, right? If a business is successful, they produce positive output, and in terms of they can be making their stakeholders happy, they can be making more revenue or profit and keeping costs down, things like that, right? So I think the answer to your question is, how does success influence other success? I'm going to say it's really the person's understanding of business that influences success. And sometimes, not sometimes, I think when a person is able to create something successfully, their understanding of it deepens. They see it more clearly. They have a better understanding of how business works. And when they go into future projects, that understanding goes with them. Like, it's not like you do one successful business and you forget how to do business, right? You take your understanding with you. That's why I think investing in yourself is one of the best investments you can do, in seeing the world in a more simple way. What's something that looks really simple to you?
Playing sports like soccer.
It looks simple to you?
Yeah.
Are you good at it?
I think I am.
Yeah. And the more time and attention you give to soccer, the more simple it will look to you, and the better you'll probably get at it. You'll probably know who to pass to or how to manage the field, right? Like, it just becomes easier because it becomes more obvious to you. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I see how.
Yeah.
Do you think that, like, to be successful, you have to be motivated all the time about your goals?
No.
No?
Like, do you like ice cream?
Yeah.
How much motivation do you need to eat ice cream?
I can just see it once. And
Right, so if eating ice cream was your goal,
yeah.
you probably wouldn't need motivation to achieve that goal, right?
Oh.
Yeah. So I think we do things we really want to do. And we need motivation for the things we don't really want to do. And so something helpful to know is spend more time doing the things you want to do. Or at least being curious about why you don't want to do it. Sometimes you don't want to do it because it looks overwhelming or difficult, and then it's helpful to spend more time looking at why it looks difficult or overwhelming to you, rather than trying to get motivation to do it anyways. It's far more fruitful and beneficial to take another look at why it looks difficult to you.
You talk about, like, we should do things that we want to do, not like motivate ourselves to do something we don't like or something.
Yeah. Like what's something you don't like to do or don't want to do?
I don't like to do, like, multiple tasks at the same time or something like that, but I often
Right, and so it's probably more helpful to you to learn how to do one thing at a time, rather than like motivate yourself to do many things at the same time, right? Like, that's just common sense. So that's a good example. Like, why would we try to motivate you to do many things if you don't really want to do it?
Do you think that we can turn our, like, the things we like into actual career that can feed our life?
I hope you do. Sure, why not?
Talking about curiosity, how do you think curiosity affect on your path of life or your career?
I think curiosity is built into the system. We are naturally more curious. We are naturally curious. It's built into us. It's how we learn. It's how we grow. And I think that's a good sign of growth. If you're able to be curious about the world, still be curious no matter how much you know, you'll naturally grow. Like for me, I don't think I'll ever stop learning. Like I love learning. So I'm really curious about the world. I'm really curious about things, and I think I just wish I had more time to read more books and study more because I'm just really curious. And I think that if you stop being curious, I think that's a great sign that you're probably not growing. I mean, you're not expanding your mind. And curious doesn't mean like just naturally curious about how things work. Like I love understanding how things work and how people work, especially how people work and how our minds work, and intuition and consciousness and thought and mind. I think if we follow our natural curiosity, I think that's something fun. I think most times we're doing things we think we should do, but what if you could naturally follow your curiosity? Like for you, what are some things you're naturally curious about? Like things you just want to learn more about?
Actually, I'm pretty curious about math. Numbers, yeah.
Okay. So how much motivation do you need to do math?
Quite really low. I can say 0.
Do you think that's true for everybody?
No.
Okay. So, yeah, follow math and see where it takes you.
Next, how much do you think your mindset affect on your success or your career?
What do you think a mindset is?
It's like the way you think and the way you see the whole.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a whole other conversation. I made a YouTube video about that, about the truth about mindsets. And in it I said how people think of mindsets as an input, which is exactly the question you asked me. If I have this mindset, I will produce these results. But the truth is a mindset is an output, not an input. Meaning a mindset is the result of how you see things. So, give me one professional that you really admire. Like it can be a sports person, a business person. What's someone you really admire?
Lionel Messi.
Okay, if you had Leonardo Messi's mindset about football, do you think you would be able to play football like Messi?
Quite comparable, maybe.
You sure? You're telling me if you just think like Lionel Messi, you're going to be able to play like Lionel Messi? One of the greatest football players to ever live.
Actually, I think I don't.
Okay, because he's Lionel Messi and you're not Lionel Messi.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem with mindset, is that you think that if you think like that person, you're going to get the same results. But the truth is you have very different life paths. How much motivation do you think Lionel Messi needs to be curious about math? Probably a lot, right?
Yeah.
And if you have the same mindset as you, he's probably not going to be as good at math as you, right? And so, to your question it goes back to time and attention, because if the purpose of shifting your mindset is to be more successful, it's far more impactful to just spend more time and attention with the thing you're doing and getting a deeper understanding of what you're doing. Like for you, to be more successful at football, you probably want to spend time understanding soccer. You'd want to understand soccer better. Like that will make you a far better player than taking on Lionel Messi's mindset about soccer. And even if you ask him, it's probably going to be like work really, really hard. And yeah, I get that. You know what I mean? Never give up. Great. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you ever face a situation like in running your businesses when you're like you want to give up, like you don't see it coming anymore?
Yeah. What's your question?
Do you ever feel that way?
Oh yeah, all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. And then, but I know better. But I know that it's my mood.
Yeah.
And I actually don't, like sometimes I don't actually want to give up. I'm just tired, or I'm hungry, or I'm lonely, or I'm frustrated. But I know that about now. So because I understand how my moods work, I'm not going to make a decision when I feel like I want to give up. I might go get an ice cream instead, or go to the sauna, or relax, and then take another look at it. But if I didn't know how my mind worked, I would think that I really do need, like my business does look like it's gonna go down and I should give up and things like that. But because I know how my moods work, I know that me wanting to give up is a lot, I know I'm just afraid. And if I know the fear is coming from me and not my business or the state of my business, I'm able to make better decisions. I'm not so rash. I'm more willing to slow down and see what happens. Like, have you ever wanted to give up at math or soccer?
Yeah. Sometimes I think it's similar to you. Like sometimes I feel tired doing something like that, but when I rest for, let's say, a second, I regain the energy to do it again.
Yeah, and it looks different to you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Okay. Do you think you are like quite successful right now?
I think that question is very relative. Like compared to what? Compared to a homeless person? Probably, yeah. I have a roof over my head. I have food to eat. I have nice clothes. I have a phone. I have a laptop. I have a microphone. Like, yeah, but if you compare it to like, I don't know, like a billionaire, probably not, you know? So it's really relative. I think it goes back to how you define success. I think I've stopped asking myself if I'm successful or not. I've started asking myself, like, are you happy?
Are you?
Yeah, I am. And I think, yeah, I am happy. I'm gonna stop worrying about success and like, who cares? Right? Like, who cares if you're successful or not? Are you happy? Are you taking care of your needs? Are you good? Because some people have like, I think traditionally people define success by what you have and how much money you have, right? Like traditionally in society. But not all those people are really happy or living the life they want to live. Some of them feel really trapped. And compared to the fisherman in a village who has his family, who goes out on a boat, who like has great views every day, like, to me that person is also successful. But who am I to judge myself or other people on how successful I am or how I'm not? Like, am I enjoying the game? Am I inspired? Do I still want to do what I want to do?
So right now, what are you planning to do in the future? Like,
Be happy.
be happy. Okay. Just like doing what you love to do.
Hope so.
Yeah. Do you have any like books or something you recommend, like, for?
Yeah, I recommend The Inside Out Revolution by Michael Neal, The Space Within by Michael Neal, Super Coach by Michael Neal. I recommend Rework by Jason Fried, and The 100-year-old man who climbed out of a window and disappeared. That's a great fiction book. I recommend that.
I think the first...
And I recommend reading One Piece comics.
One Piece?
It's a lot of fun, yeah.
Okay. You love reading comics?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love reading cartoons.
I think your first 3 books are of the same author?
Yeah.
Is he like your idol or something?
I think he's a teacher that I really, really like learning from.
Can I ask about your hobby, like what you enjoy doing?
I enjoy coaching, I enjoy studying, reading, playing video games, going to the gym, badminton, great food. Yeah, that's it. I don't need a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Lastly, do you have any tips or advice for like young students?
I would advise to really enjoy being a student. Really, don't take yourself or your goals so seriously that you give yourself a hard time and it takes away from your enjoyment of being a young student. I really enjoy being a young student and trust that if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, life will take care of itself. That you can trust life to take care of you if you keep doing the best you can.
From that, do you think like childhood and teenagers are the most enjoyable moment of life, or?
I think you can enjoy life no matter what age you're at. Depends on your state of mind.
That's interesting. Yeah. I think that's all for today. Yeah. Do you have anything to say?
Just thank you for having me on your podcast, and I really, really enjoyed this conversation, and I think your questions are very insightful, and I hope that people will find this conversation useful to themselves as well.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.